Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Superhuman Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Dr. Accurso, and yet again, we get to spend time together. I'm so honored to spend another moment for you to take time out of your life to come and spend time with me and my special guest. I can't wait for you to meet her. Her name is Dr. Jen Esquer, and she is a doctor of physical therapy and a movement enthusiast. Now, when I say movement enthusiast, some of you may think, well, she likes to run or she likes to walk. Not at all. She is doing crazy flips and headstands, and she's training people essentially how to move their bodies better. But here's the key. Here's what caught me about Dr. Jen is that she is all about you taking control of your health. She's all about you being empowered and not relying on a practitioner. Now, are there times when practitioners are needed? Absolutely. But for the most part, we should know enough about our bodies to know how to actually, get ahead of our health and really prevent things in the future. So I think that's one thing that's really cool about her. She treats patients privately in Los Angeles and has a program called the Mobility Method, which we're going to get into in a little bit. She also uses her online platforms to push educational videos on how to maintain mobility, increase strength, prevent pain through the body. Really cool stuff. She was a former gymnast for 9 years and a Pilates instructor for 6 years. And Jen is an avid mover who dabbles in acro yoga, calisthenics, weight training, Pilates, and yoga. Her main goal is to help others continue to move and live a pain-free, active lifestyle. Doc, thanks so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you. Quite the
Absolutely.
introduction. I appreciate it.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Some of the stuff you're putting out right now, like you and I have talked about, is just amazing. I would encourage everyone out there to get on Instagram or get on your Facebook page. Let's start there. You're putting out this really amazing content on how to know your body better, how to move better. What's kind of your big why behind what you do?
My big why is that I just want to get people back in tune with their bodies, because we have the responsibility within each and every single one of us to be able to, like you were saying, prevent pain, prevent injury, get back in touch, and really, really appreciate exactly what we've been given. Because no matter who you are, what you were born with, there's no limitations. You just move within what you have and what you've been given. And that's really what I've seen through PT school. And that's because, you work with what you would think are really hard, bad diseases. Like I've seen cerebral palsy patients who live out of a wheelchair. And yet one of the guys it looks extremely painful, but he gets himself down from his wheelchair, puts on his shoes and socks, which takes about 20 minutes. Yeah. I mean, something we think is super simple, easy, putting on his own shirt, doing all this stuff. Like he showed us how he does it, and it looks painful because he's not sitting up or, he's laying on the ground trying to wiggle into these things. Right. And then he pulls himself back up on his wheelchair. And when he got too big to pull himself back up on his wheelchair, he started swimming. Wow. I mean, he lives alone. He cooks for himself. He finds transportation for himself. He's absolutely amazing. So for him, this isn't a limitation. He's moving within what his body is capable of doing. And when we really sit back and appreciate exactly what we have, we realize we have a whole lot of capabilities, most of us. Especially if you're sitting there looking on Instagram and doing all these other things, you probably have these capabilities within you. You were born with a lot more that you can do. So why don't we search into that? Why don't we dive into that? Why don't we, fully embrace and really appreciate that? Wow. That's really cool. It sounds like you have a method of gratefulness that you practice as well, just because of the wording that you used, right? What we've been given, right? I think a lot of times we forget that we have been given this gift of a body and of a brain. Yeah. And it's our greatest gift we have on this earth, right? You lose your health, right? You lose everything. Doesn't matter how much stuff you have. And it's so easy to lose that, right? I mean, it's cool that we're having this conversation in the new year too, because I think that oftentimes we get caught up with these really
great, grandiose goals,
Mm-hmm.
but we lose sight of truly what's most important, what's at the
Right.
core of all of those goals, which is this amazing human body that we've been given, this earth
Exactly.
suit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
love
it's
that.
usually, it takes someone to get injured for them to be like, oh my gosh,
That's so
I
true.
can't believe everything I used my hand for, or my leg, or my back. It's like
Yeah.
getting out of bed suddenly hurts. And it takes them
Yeah.
to have that moment of pain
Mm.
to find the appreciation for what they had before.
Yeah. Yeah. A mentor of mine calls it pain to purpose. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, pain to purpose, because sometimes you have to experience that
I
pain
know. Sometimes
badly,
you
right?
do. Right.
Yeah.
You
You have,
do.
people, I've been told in the past, like, hey, you really need to do this or be on the ball with this, or this is going to happen. And I went down that road anyway. And it's a real, it can be a train wreck, but at the same time, you can come out of it stronger if, like you're saying, if you realize that, it's time to pay attention, and
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially what I hear you saying, is that you're helping people pay attention and prevent
Yeah.
things from happening. And that's so huge, because as you know, and probably one of the reasons why you do what you do as well, is in our healthcare system right now, there's a lot of emergency care, right? People wait for something to happen and then they go and do something about it. And one of the other things I love about your videos is that they're so engaging. They're not, and I know everything you do is probably structured out, and it's very well thought out. And it looks like you've done that to the purpose of, when someone watches a video, oftentimes we see like talking heads, and you're very engaged with your audience. You're showing them the movements. You're showing how they can do it at home. And I love how empowering you are to people, telling them you can do this from the comfort of your own home. So going down that road, you're training people now. You have private clients in LA. They're coming from all over the world, and the mobility method to actually learn from you. What have you found are maybe 2 or 3 roadblocks that people have when it comes to knowing, what's an emergency and
Mm-hmm.
what's actually something that they can, go and utilize a video, or maybe something preventative? Because I think sometimes people fear that, like, oh, have I gone
Totally.
too far down the road and I need to go get emergency help? What are some things you can share with people to kind of understand their body more in that way?
What I usually like to do for almost all my patients, I get them back to breath, because
Mm,
because that immediately is going to connect you to whatever is going on. Oftentimes I have people on my table crying,
yeah.
because it's not even what I'm doing physically for their bodies in manual work, but it's really what's coming up for them, emotionally trapped, or not being able to even get back into their parasympathetic system and breathe.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of times people are chest breathers and constantly telling their brain they're in this sympathetic, stressful, you know, intense state, and they're not ever coming back to rest and relaxation. And if
Yeah.
we're never coming back to that resting state, then we're continuing to, push cortisol through the body and raise stress levels and
Yeah.
be in constant pain, because that is going to drive this constant pain, and it's going to freak you out. It's going to be
Yeah.
like, no matter what I do, I'm in constant pain and I'm always hurting.
Mm,
And and it makes you scared to move. Then it makes you, I was just talking to someone the other day. She used to be a professional athlete in volleyball, and now she's having all these aches and pains, and it's really related to emotional and stress and everything
mm.
that's going on in her life. And she said, I stopped moving because I became so afraid of getting even into more pain.
Wow. Right.
And pain, it is scary. I mean, and it is our alarm system. We do have the sensation of pain because it is something that is needed in the body. It's like if you touch something hot, your body's going to be like, no,
Right.
don't touch
Don't do
that.
that. Yeah.
Or if we're sitting in an uncomfortable position, it's going to tell us to move. And that's how you don't get bed sores and do all these other things. So your body is
Yeah.
very protective of itself. But when we get into this constant state of pain, it is also your body's alarm system that you're not in tune anymore, and you're a
Mm,
little bit disconnected,
yeah.
because your body has such a good way of healing itself. So if it is in this chronic state of pain, something else is probably going on.
Mm,
And that's when I would say it is okay to, dive in and go see someone, because
yeah.
it's hard to detect that on your own. And it's
Yeah.
hard to accept that on your own as well.
Yeah.
That it could be coming from something stressful, something emotional, something you're holding on to.
Mhm.
And being able to see a practitioner that actually has the time to listen to you. Because that's
Huge.
also, you know, what's missing, I think, and especially my field is physical therapy,
Yeah.
is that, and I worked at one, you go to a clinic and it's one client after another. It's a mill, you know, we're
Yeah.
pushing them through.
I worked
It's
in the same place, same thing. Yeah.
how many clients can we see in an hour, you know?
Right. Right.
And you don't get the time. It's like, well, you have shoulder injury. Let's look at your shoulder. Let's just dive in here. And you
Yeah.
don't get a time to like really appreciate and see a full person.
Totally.
And that's what I love that I'm able to do now, because now I can take an hour to an hour and a half and allow them to talk and not have to shut them up, you know, and allow someone to express and feel and just whatever's coming up for them, so that we can move through this experience together and really dive in and see what's going on.
Huge right there. And I mean, we're speaking to a lot of levels right now, but I mean, some of the points you made just now, I mean, just having that perspective, you as a doctor, having the perspective of whole body, you know, is such a big deal. And I always say this too. It's like, if there's a practitioner in your life out there, whoever's listening, and you know, they're talking to you and explaining to you, like, this is what you need to be doing, they should be doing it as well. Would you agree, Doc?
Totally.
Right. I mean, I think we have a lot of, from what I've seen, there's a lot of experts out there that are, you know, educating people and talking to people about things, and not necessarily practicing what they preach. And I think that's so important, that your practitioner looks the part, you know. And I mean, and when I look at you, I mean, you look the part, you exemplify what you're teaching. And that's such a big deal, because you're teaching people these things and you're practicing them yourself. So you know that they work, you know that they're going to take people from A to Z in that way. So such a big deal there. And then to the other point that you said about the pain, you know, it's like pain teaches us things. And oftentimes it's unpleasant to go there, but like you're saying, the emotional things, I think for guys, especially, it's very hard to go there, because
really hard.
That's transparency. And, you know, we, as a guy, like, you don't, you know, like, I'm not going to show transparency. I'm not going to let you see the root here, but allowing that pain to be an influence to get you, you know, to that certain thing that you need to address is such a big deal. So I love that we're talking about that. Along these lines, you know, there's a lot of movements I know that you've seen in our culture that damage the spine, damage the immune system, cause weakness in the body, and eventually lead people down, you know, a road of emotional pain and physical pain. What would you say is a movement, a motion, a position that a lot of our culture gets in and sends them down this road, you know, of pain? Like maybe something done over and over and over again. Like what comes to mind is sitting. Maybe that's what comes to mind for you as well, right? Sitting is like everybody's
just being sedentary. I mean, no matter what you're going to do, if you're not moving enough, you know, it's like, it's awful. And I get people all the time who come to me too, and they're like, well, I have scoliosis. And I'm like, cool, I do too. Now what?
Right, let's go. Let's rock.
Yeah.
I literally just had a girl the other day say that. She's like, my mom said I can't do anything because I have scoliosis. Right.
I know. And that's what I like to tell people too. It's like, and I don't like to necessarily say there's a bad movement, there's a bad, you know, because when we put this negative connotation on something, it immediately goes into someone's brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's a lot of the fear-based methods out there as well, is like, well, let me show you everything that's wrong with you and what you can't do anymore. Yeah. And as soon as you start doing that, it's like you're building fear, you're building stress, you're building all these other things, and you're probably not helping them get to a point of being out of pain, you know? Yeah. But when we can actually just say, okay, this is what's going on, totally fine, normal, it happens. Yeah. It happens. It's all good. Yeah. and then
moving on.
Yeah. And then like start to ease. So sometimes, you know, it's backing away from from that painful area, and it's getting other things to move. Sometimes it's going into it and slowly tapping into that painful area to get it to desensitize. So it's a different across the board, and it's different from person to person. There's never going to be one perfect answer, I don't think.
Yeah.
But really it's experimenting, and it's allowing that to be okay, to say, I'm not going to use this tool for this person. I'm going to use this one. Or even for yourself, you're going to say, oh, that didn't feel good for me. Maybe I try it a different way, or maybe, and you're okay. And you're compassionate with yourself with saying, I can't do that yet.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it doesn't feel good for my body. And so I'm going to do something else,
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, knowing that like we get so hung up on pain, diagnosis, MRI, x-rays, all these things that aren't necessarily getting at the cause of what is really going on, which is again, why I go back to the breath, to what's going on in your life. What are your stressors? That's the main cause right there, what you're putting in your body then. And then we look at, okay, what are the restrictions around the body? What are some of the motor patterns that might not be happening? And, some of those other things. But we really got to get back to the cause of it. And across the board, it's usually where you think it is, it ain't. So don't just chase the pain. And then your MRI can look the same as 100 other people, but you don't move the same. You don't do the same thing. You're not in the same activities. You aren't, posturally, you're not the same. So there's so many other factors that why your MRI doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it does.
No, you're right.
But it's like,
you're right.
We're going to look at you as a whole and as a person separate from your MRI.
Yeah. It doesn't dictate. It doesn't dictate where you're going, right?
Yes.
And you're exactly right. You're that little seed, which sadly is planted in a lot of people's brains and hearts nowadays, right? And that's why I think, as practitioners, we have to check ourselves at the door too, because at times, like if you're starting a new business or like you're running a practice, it's like, we've learned to plant those little seeds. So people are like, oh yeah, I need that. I need whatever you have to offer. And it's like, that's not acting out of integrity, man.
Right.
So this could be a whole nother episode, which maybe we need to do that. We need to have a practitioner episode. That would be good. But that's so huge. So along the lines of sitting, what do you recommend to people who have the desk jobs, who are like, I gotta sit, like I have to sit at my computer all day. What are some things that they can do to prevent, injury and ultimately, take control of their body and get more fit essentially while working potentially?
Yeah. Well, I would say, first of all, find time within I would set alarms for when you need to stand up, find some simple stretches. I just did a whole desk series to start the year because I knew people would love that.
Yeah.
So I showed some for the neck, showed some for the upper back, and then for the hips, because and they're all done either sitting or standing up from your chair for a hot second.
Cool.
And getting up and moving a little bit, So find things, even if you look a little funny in the office, who cares? You're taking care of your body. They don't need to.
That's it.
And look like that person. But when, it's also funny. People I think don't realize how much they inspire other people just by being themselves. Like, you don't have to be an influencer. You don't have to have a big following. It's you inspire just by being who you are in the world.
Yep.
And so if you start getting up and helping yourself and not caring what other people think, and start like moving throughout your day, and just get up and do these little things, or make a strong request to your boss and say, you know what, for our bodies, it would be highly beneficial if we can get an adjustable desk, one that stands up and one that can sit down. Because again, we don't want to just go from sitting all day to standing all day. You want to be able to have that flexibility up and down. So maybe you make a powerful request, and that is something that you can do, So being able to inspire just by being who you are and taking control and taking action is going to inspire other people around you. So why wouldn't you want to be that person in the office? Like, how powerful is that? That's
so
awesome.
true. So true. It's funny you say that, because when we would have our clinic meetings 4 or 5 years ago in Nashville, there was this guy that would come, and everyone would be sitting in chairs, and we would all be listening to each other. And like one of us would stand up and comment, but everybody's sitting. And there's this one guy that would always go in the corner and like do this crazy funky stretch while listening. And it just kind of broke that pattern of sitting, and everybody kind of started looking at them every now and again. And eventually I was like, you know what? I want to stretch too. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to stretch too. And then everybody else started to stretch. And as soon as you knew it, all the chairs were pushed to the sides of the room. Everybody's stretching and talking.
That's
and
amazing.
It would like, it broke
that
monotony.
Yes.
I think, you know, you're saying the same thing. It's like, sometimes we fear what other people think, but in actuality, they're going to begin to think about themselves differently, you know?
Exactly.
Obviously that's why you have such a big following, Jen, because you're doing that.
I mean, it's hard. I get it. Like,
is, right?
You're going to be judged. It's a natural reaction. You're going to judge someone else. You're going to be judged. It's okay, you know, but being able to get past that and say, okay, I'm going to be judged, but I'm also taking control of my body. And this is the one body I have. This is the one life I have, the one opportunity. This is the job I want to be in. So if I'm going to be here, I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah, for sure. So because now I'm like 100% interested in like you and like what you do. Obviously, you know, you got all your stuff together. You're perfect.
I don't know about that.
I'm just, but what do you do? You know, so walk us through your day, like a day where, you know, you're working out, you're running your business, you're, you know, focusing on yourself somewhat, your nutrition, things like that. Talk us through like your morning, afternoon, evening routine.
So it is a little crazy right now, I would say, because
the new year.
Just have a free challenge running right now, which is so much fun to watch everyone just like kind of getting in tune with their body, because it goes back to gratitude and just some easy mobility stuff, but really it's just diving in, you know? So I love seeing that, but it's a lot to keep up with. So right now it's like pulling myself out of bed, because I'm not a morning person.
So what time are you pulling yourself out of bed?
8 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
So not a morning person.
There's somebody out there that is not a morning person. I love it. No, because right now all you hear about are these crazy morning people that are like waking up at 5. And I've done that road before, but I'm the same. So anyway.
Well, okay. Goal is 7:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But the goal then has to be to go to bed before 2 a.m. So I'm working on it.
You're creative as well, right? You're an artistic.
Yes. Yes. I have to like listen to meditation to like go to sleep, because I got to shut this off a lot of times.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I come alive at night. I always say it's like, I don't know if that's a curse or if that's a good thing, but I come alive at night. Yeah. So, anyway, so you try to go to bed before 2 a.m. You're waking up around 8, 9, 10. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Sometimes.
right. Depending on the night. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yes, trying to go to bed earlier. And then I like to just get up and get my workout done, because it's easiest to just like get up and get it done.
Yeah.
Does it always happen? No, but then I'll just find another time to get it in. Sometimes if I know that it's going to be hard for me to tear myself away from doing work, I will schedule a class with a friend. So then I have to go to that class. Yes.
Yep. And now do you take any supplements before you work out? Are you taking amino acids? Are you doing a shake? Or are you just straight up having some water and hitting the gym?
I usually have coffee and hit the gym. That's my pre-workout.
Coffee, hit the gym.
Yeah.
And then do you have any post-workout shakes that you do or anything like that?
Typically, yes. Right now, no, because we're doing Whole30 for January, and Whole30, there's no protein that are acceptable. Which is totally fine. And I honestly, like, if I have a shake post-workout, it's not necessarily because I'm like, oh, gotta maintain my lean muscle mass and do all these things. It's really just because I think it tastes good and it's replenishing after a workout. But for me personally, I'm not just so up on supplements all the time. I'm really just, what am I putting in my body that I can maximize just my nutrition? So as long as I'm eating well and I'm getting water and I'm getting, all these things that I need, which are more important, I would say, than some of the supplements.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you go off of feeling, like, as far as taking your supplements? I'm kind of that way as well. People will ask me, what's your supplement regimen? They always want to know what's my supplement regimen. I'm like, I kind of just go off my body. It's kind of
Yeah.
a little bit strange. Like I'm in this season where, I might dabble in fish oil for a little bit, but then I'm off it for a couple months. And then I might do some amino acids here or some spirulina, chlorella here, depending on how I feel. May do a couple fasts here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a method, or are you kind of just random?
I listen to my body.
Like, yeah.
Right now I'm doing Whole30 because after December.
Because you crushed it in December.
I crushed
Good
all
for you.
the foods.
Good for you.
Not
Gotta
even
enjoy
gonna
life.
lie.
Yep, me too.
So back to non-processed, all no sugar, all real whole foods. That's my jam right now.
I'm disappointed in you. You didn't eat all organic off the land. I mean, that's a shame.
I didn't.
Really a shame.
I had my tamales. I had
all right.
I had my candy.
You got to.
Gosh. Lewis and I are like my friend was like, when I told her what we eat sometimes at the movies, she was like, "Are you 12?"
I melt the M&M when I pour them over the popcorn.
I was like, well, sometimes,
You gotta be 12.
Yeah. So we're not, I mean, needless to say, I'm not perfect, and people look at, my body and stuff, and it's just, it's so genetically based. It's so routine based in your body as well. I grew up as a gymnast, so working out as much as I did, I do have natural muscle that I'm just really, I'm not going to get rid of. So, which I have accepted within my body. And luckily that's cool now to have muscle as a woman, but it's like, don't strive to have my body, just strive to be healthy and feel your body and tune in and know what you need for you, because it's not about abs. It's about what's internally going on. And it's like, as much as I try to get someone to get back into their breath, your gut health it changes your breath as well. And vice versa, your breath can affect your gut health. So it's like that's why it's truly, when they say it's all mind body connected, it's literally all mind body connected. Like you can't get away from that. So knowing what you're putting in is going to be crucial for how you're delivering, how you're moving, everything.
Yeah. Wow. And so when we talk about, some, like in this situation, somebody wants to get fit. They want to get back on a plan for the new year. They kind of let themselves go down south a little bit in December. Now we're coming back out of it again.
Right.
What is do you recommend a certain strategy for eating? Do you recommend like more raw foods, more steamed vegetables, low protein? Are you into the ketogenic thing? Are you into the fasting thing? Like and maybe those things change over the year for you. What would you say for the new year? What could be some things that people could start doing to really get back on track with their health?
Well, I always think it depends on where you're starting out. So if you've never like really dove in and created a lifestyle of health for yourself, being like, okay, I'm going to cut all this stuff out and I'm not going to have sugar anymore is just not realistic. It's not something that you're going to stick to. So I would never put someone on that because I just don't think it's real. I don't think that they're going to maintain. You could do a 5-day detox, but then what do you have after that?
Right.
So I think it always depends where you're starting. If you, like for me, I'm used to eating relatively well and creating a lifestyle for myself. And I've done the Whole30 thing for 30 days straight. So I know that me diving into something extreme like that, I can do. For someone else, I wouldn't recommend. So it depends. It depends. If you've done this where you've experimented, you've done, little tests here and there with intermittent fasting, or you've tried the ketogenic thing, you've tried other things, I would say, okay, just start tuning in, start listening to your body, start seeing what you like, what you don't like, and say, maybe when you're starting the new year, you're going to say, hey, for this first week, I'm not going to have sugar from Monday through Friday. And then I'm going to allow myself to have a cheat meal. And the other thing about that is like, I don't know, don't call it a cheat meal. Just like if you want to have like a piece of chocolate, have the piece of chocolate and don't feel bad about it. Because again, the more stress that we put into our body, the worse it's going to be. Like don't cut things out and then add this back in and then feel guilty about it. It's just eat for your body, eat for what feels good. Again, like I ate a lot of stuff in December and But I allowed myself, and I also
Yeah.
got sick, and I knew that I wasn't doing the best for my immune system. And,
Yeah.
And it's now that I'm eating better, I am feeling better. I'm working out more. It all goes full circle. It all helps you. So the more that you can, sometimes journaling really helps, I know, for people.
Huge. Yeah. Yeah.
And then for me, I've done intermittent fasting. I love it.
Yeah.
I almost was doing that in December because I wasn't moving as much.
Yeah.
So I wasn't eating until like 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Your first meal, you were eating your first
Yeah.
meal. Yeah. Yeah.
And for some people that sounds crazy, like I'm starving. I just wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't moving as much.
Yeah.
So I was kind of accidentally doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So I've really done that before with bulletproof coffee and stuff as well in the mornings, and I love it. I have not done the ketogenic diet fully. We've done ketogenic meals and stuff, and that has a lot of cheese for me. I don't really like dairy, not that I don't like dairy, I love dairy,
Doesn't sit well with you.
It does not sit well with me.
Yeah.
And the reason why I go back to Whole30 is because when I did it, I had 0 bloating, felt so lean,
Right.
felt amazing. And that again is cutting out. I think the biggest thing for me was, besides just cutting out sugar, was no grains and legumes. And I've done a week of a soup cleanse where was like, it had food in it as well. But it was a lot of quinoa and couscous and very legume based. And I couldn't even finish day 5 because my stomach was hurting so bad. Yeah. So it's tuning in, it's listening to what you need. So obviously if you're vegan or vegetarian, your diet's not going to work for me, and my diet's not going to work for you. So again, it's tuning in and understanding that we all have different gut healths. We all have different gut floras. We all have different things that are going to respond for our body. So really diving in and being able to tune in and listen and say, oh, I'm a little bloated. That's a sign. That's something that's not sitting well. And learn, I think if you're going to fast, you got to learn about it so well, because it's not healthy to just go a day with fasting if you didn't have, proper nutrients the days before.
For sure. I love we're talking about this, because I think that gets left on the back burner when you talk about, building a proper infrastructure to do these things that we're talking about, like doing the Whole30 or doing a fast, and learning, going to the right sources. I think there's so much online. So it's like a wonderful thing and then a horrible thing at the same time, because I think there's like, everybody's an expert now, right? Online. Right. And people go online, they take the first piece of information and they say, I'm going to apply that, whether it be the ketogenic diet or, raw food fast or whatever it is. But really it all comes back to knowing your body, being in tune with your body. I love that you mentioned journaling. So I do a lot of journaling, and the reason that I do, I can look back on the last 5 years of how I've felt and this kind of the stress that I've been under and how I responded to that, and where I gravitated towards during those times of stress. And it shows me the path that I can take again to achieve success in my life, health, relationships, etc. But specifically doing it for your health is so important. I think a lot of times we journal for emotion and relationships and maybe finances. Health kind of gets left on the back burner a little bit.
Totally.
It's really powerful, that you're mentioning that. So in talking about that, I'd love to get into, you obviously have a very powerful vision for your life. You're building some really cool things within the world right now. I'd love to know from you, how do you stay focused and productive? I know you got things coming at you all the time. I know you're like having to shut certain things down, say yes to certain things. Do you have a specific planner that you use? Like, what are some tools that you use to help optimize your productivity and your focus during your day?
Starting my day with intention is huge. So whether that's writing it down, saying it out loud, which are 2 of the probably most powerful things, which Lewis and I do a lot. We end the day with gratitude. So what are the 3 things you're grateful for today? We start the day with, what is your intention for the day? And just being able to say that to each other is huge.
It is.
And then being able to write it down, I think is really great as well. Because then you're saying, okay, if something else comes in my way, I'm going to know, is this going to keep me on track or is it not?
Yeah.
And just being able to have that question for yourself will help dictate where you're going to go and how you're going to stay productive for that day. And then also being okay with saying, okay, I might not get done all the things I wanted to today, but at least I had an intention, because it's true. There's not always enough hours in the day to get done what you wanted to get done. And that's okay. Just at least writing down your goals. What are the top things that I need to get done today? And then what do I intend to do with that? And so really having a clear understanding of what your intention is so huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and this is kind of along the lines of the goals for the year, do you have specific, fitness goal? You most likely do have fitness goals for yourself. Like, do you do the body weight thing? Do you measure your muscle mass? Do you do Tanita testing to figure out, okay, I'm this size, I want to be this size? Do you do any of that? Or are you just like, I just want to be more fit? And if so, do you like measuring, your progress and thinking, okay, I want to lift this much? Like, how do you measure at all as far as your fitness goes for yourself?
I really measure based on how I feel.
Okay.
I hardly jump on the scale.
Yep. Good for you. I'm not an advocate of the scale.
Yeah, me neither. And then I just haven't gotten in to do other testing. I should.
Yeah.
So I haven't, I don't
I'm going to raise my hand to that one.
Body. Yeah. I don't think I've done real testing since grad school, really.
Okay. Yeah.
For my body. But it really is like, so I know in December I didn't eat as well. I got sick. I wasn't moving as much. So just being able to feel like I have the energy to move through one of my intense HIIT workouts is one of a clear indicator, because when I'm dying, I'm like, oh man, this is rough.
Yeah.
And just, so yeah, and then it goes back to how I feel. Like, am I bloated? Am I lean? So it's not really about how much fat I have, but it's about how I feel within my body, my energy, my effort to be able to put out into a workout. And that's really what I measure.
That's cool.
As far as goals go, I would like to get back on my canes, my handstand canes, and start playing around a little bit more again, because I kind of got off that.
Explain what your handstand canes. What is that?
They're like long poles with little blocks on the top.
You're holding yourself on this.
Yeah.
Like by one hand?
No, two hands. I mean, one hand
still,
on each block.
Like, let's just like, even doing that is amazing. Okay. So you do this consistently. You do these hand canes.
Yeah. I have them right next to me, actually. So it's like staring me down.
Right now. Okay. And go.
So, so getting back on building my strength again and my mobility, to be able to build that back up, it would be goals, just because I like to play. I think play is huge.
So huge.
And I had found acro yoga about 3.5 years ago, and that really was so much fun and really allowed for a lot of play. And now it's just, I would say, getting back into my strength with acrobatics and stuff like that.
How do you break the cycle during your day? Like, that's huge. Play is huge.
Mm-hmm.
We get caught in adult life a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you break away and go play? Like, how do you break things? How do you stop?
Yeah.
How do you stop yourself and say, okay, I'm going to go play now?
Oh God. I don't know. You just make yourself do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like,
so you don't have a set, you don't have the alarm.
I don't have an alarm.
Okay.
Oftentimes it's usually, I'm going to meet up with a friend that day and we'll do some play. Like I have friends who do animal flow, who do intense workouts, but like through that workout, we'll always just be laughing and playful and doing other things. Like, I don't know. I have people around me who want to maintain this healthy lifestyle, but who also love are just fun people and
Yes.
love to incorporate
Gotta
play.
have it.
So,
Absolutely.
so
Yep. One of the things that I do, so I'm a big surfer. I like paddle boarding, but I try to get out at least once a week
yeah.
to just get out in the waves. Right now it's, 32, 33 degrees in Florida. So my
Ooh.
body's not liking that a lot.
No.
but we went out 2 days ago. We were blue. We looked like we were Blue Men Group, and because it was so cold. And I don't like wetsuits. Like a lot of surfers say, just wear a wetsuit, man. I don't like the feeling, but so I go out, I do it for like 20, 25 minutes. But I think it is so important to leave that time for play and be intentional about it.
Yes.
So for everybody out there, that just convicted me, by the way, to just leave more time for that and be
Yeah.
childlike, right? Explore,
Yes.
climb a tree, whatever you want
Yeah.
to do. But like, and things are all around us, I mean, we can, even if you just get out in nature and
Mm-hmm.
walk, I mean, just doing something other than
Mm-hmm.
the routine of your day. So big.
Yeah. And being able to call up a friend, I think, is huge too,
Mm,
because sometimes you'll get in a rut where you're like, I just don't feel motivated. I like straight up don't feel motivated.
yep.
So I will literally text one of my friends and be like, I don't feel motivated. Can you kick my ass today?
Is that it? Is that literally the text?
That's literally the text.
I'm going to quote
like,
that.
Great,
We're going to
what
quote that. We're going to put it on the social media. Dr. Jen Esther. But no, yeah, that is a really big deal. Do you have, one or two friends you do that with? Do you have one friend that you do that with? Is it a slew of people?
It's a
Like
slew
what?
of people.
Slew of people.
I mean,
Just text.
and people, and because it could be so again, I could call up a person. I could be like, can you kick my butt? And she'll do like a weightlifting workout with me. I'll hit up another. She'll do an
I love
animal
that.
flow. I'll hit up another. She'll do a run with me. So it's like,
Change it up.
or like we'll go to a Pilates class. So I have like all these friends who like to do different things.
Yep.
And it makes it fun, and it makes it just like I can call up whoever, and at least I'll be moving.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. So getting back to the movement a little bit more. A lot of times, people are heading into the gym, especially in the new year, right? Got a lot of people going to the gym, just getting in there, not really having a rhyme or reason to what they're doing, just going in and just like maybe crushing the weights or doing cardio. Are there movements that you recommend someone not do? Do you see people doing certain things that you're like, that's really bad for your spine, really bad for your muscles, you should never do that?
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. And can you so talk about, like two movements that you see that people should not do ever?
I hate, well, for specifically talking into the gym, which I actually haven't been to a gym.
Yeah,
I would say,
a gym.
in a while. Yeah, like a regular LA Fitness or something.
Yeah.
But I don't like the ab cruncher.
Yep.
Where you put weight on and you're just like, I mean, when do we need to do that in your day? So you have to also think about
Huge.
What am I doing with this muscle that is actually going to relate into my daily life? Because I think we need to remember that, it's like our abs are not intended to work as a hamstring and crunch down.
Yeah.
So why are we doing it?
So, and a lot of times we don't, and you're right. We don't ask that. We really don't,
Right.
Yeah.
So that one, let's just throw that out.
Throw that out.
Let's just take that out of the gym. And then the other one I don't like is the back extension one. I don't know if that's still at a gym.
It is going strong.
Oh man.
Yep.
Let's also just start dragging them out of the gym, guys. Just start like getting a group of people around and just drag it out.
Form a movement. You could form this movement, by the way. You could have a GoFundMe project to do. We can start that.
Let's do it, Matt.
That's awesome. Okay. And why don't why aren't you a fan of that?
Because those are two just not functional things that we're doing for the spine.
Yeah.
A lot of times too, we all have, most people I would say are going to move from the low back, unfortunately, because you get locked up in the upper back. So especially when you're starting to do these positions where you then let's add weight onto that and smash into one portion of your back. Well, no wonder you're going to have back issues or other issues that build up, so learning how to functionally load the spine, how to functionally, prevent the spine to rotate, because that's also really powerful. Anti-rotation exercises really help to stabilize and build strength around the spine in a correct way.
Yeah.
And not that we can't twist and move, we want to, but
Yeah.
you also want to do it in, like, I would say more of a loaded standing way, where it actually makes sense, or you're taking a cable and you're chopping it across, because this is something that would actually relate to your everyday. Maybe you're reaching up, yes, and you're grabbing something from your counter and then you're placing it down, so it's, so getting into these positions that we are thinking, okay, what am I doing that this is going to relate to what I have to do in life?
Yeah. If people out there wanted to learn about these movements, Doc, where can they go? Can I go to your website? Can they go to your Instagram page? How can they see some of the things that you're talking about?
I've shown some on my Instagram page, but my page is more about like how to prevent pain, and I mean, I am showing how various ways that you could do exercises, so many ways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not really a fitness page.
Yep. Right. Okay. It's more so like the mobility method, the method that you teach. Are you going into these types of movements?
No, because it's more about mobility.
It's more about mobility. So they're learning. So talk about that for a second. Talk about what someone would learn if they went into your program.
Mm-hmm. So this is all about, like, let me show you. It's a toolbox. So this isn't your typical program where it's like day 1, day 2, day 3, because my point is that all bodies are created differently and uniquely and beautiful. And there's not going to be one perfect method, I don't believe, that everyone should move through.
Yeah.
So you have to create your own mobility routine. So my goal is to have people move through an area and then say, oh yeah, that's restricted. Journal it, write it down, find another thing that's restricted, add those 2 to 3 movements in, whether that's warming up before you go work out, or that's your cool down, or that's your morning routine, or that's your night routine. So, I mean, again, it could be implemented so many areas within your day, or maybe you find 2 to 3 exercises you like that you can get up at work and do. And so it's more of a toolbox that people can utilize, and it goes through what mobility is. So what mobility is, isn't just passive stretching. It isn't just flexibility, but it's actually being able to use this new range in a functional way. Right. So it's end range stabilization, it's activation after you've been opening up, or after you've just lengthened, quote unquote, lengthened something and passively stretched it. Now can you activate? So it's teaching that. And it breaks up, from shoulder module, back, hip, ankle, that kind of thing.
Very cool. Very cool. I think it's so powerful. Like, everything you're teaching helps to elongate the spine. And I think a lot of times we forget how influential the spine is. Your brain is connected to your spine, which is connected. There are nerves that are coming out of your spine that going to vital organs. So when you move, like you teach, right, you're actually optimizing your organ function. And I mean, we don't oftentimes think that way, because we're thinking, well, we're just moving. These are muscles, but your whole spine is moving. You're taking pressure off nerves when you do that. You're actually increasing proprioception. All those things are happening. Beautiful things are happening, right?
Totally.
So I love what you're doing in the world, and how you're doing it, and what you're teaching people to do, because ultimately you're increasing people's longevity. You're helping people to create more of a legacy in their life. You're helping people stay around for their grandkids and not go down the road of sickness, disease, and surgeries. And there's just, I mean, honestly, for me, there are very few things that kind of get up there to that realm of being just some of the most powerful things we can do in our lives. And what you're teaching is that. I want to get into a little bit of a rapid fire round with you real quick for some questions. Okay. So boom, 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 boom. Okay. So the first one is, what creates the most peace in your life?
Movement.
Love it. What helps you enter flow state or the zone each day?
Intention setting.
What do you like to do in your free time?
Play. Handstand.
Yeah.
Upside down.
With cane sticks. I'm ever in the area,
or on people's hands, or just
listen,
anywhere.
if I'm ever in the area, you got to teach me how to do a cane stick.
Totally.
Okay, boom. We got to be, because I'm like, now you have me intrigued with these things.
Oh.
It's on. What was the last habit you formed and why?
I would say making the bed every day, and because it helps to create a productive day moving forward.
That's big, really, really big for me too. And this is a little bit of a harder question. What purchase of $100 or less has had the most impact on your life in the last 6 months? Or you can go back 2 years.
I was trying to think about this one.
Yeah, I put you on the spot a little bit. And if you want time, we can go to another question.
Yeah, I need time for that one.
Okay, take some time. What books do you recommend to our heroes out there?
I love Radical Acceptance.
Cool.
I can't remember her name, the author,
Yeah.
but it's just huge. That one really helped me. I love that one.
Nice.
God, there's so many.
Yeah.
The School of Greatness is a super motivating one.
I love that guy. He's
really, really, yeah.
Yeah.
It helps you kind of like get started and like just feel like, yes, I can take on the world now.
It does.
And then you are a badass, I would say.
It does. You know, it's really funny. I got that book. He sent me a what is it called? A pre-book, whatever you call that. And I was reading it, and my little girl came in the room, and this is so, because she looked at the front of the book and she's like, "Is that Superman?" Like, she's never seen Superman before in her life.
Cute.
But she let, I don't know, maybe the way he was standing in the book or something like that. But I was like, I looked at her and said, yes, it is.
Oh, that's so cute. I love
that book has spoke a lot into my life as well. If you could pick one action step for your listeners from this call or for this conversation, what would it be?
Set intention for your day and find your movement that works for you.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, you know, Doc, this conversation has been really, really high level. We just hit on a lot of cool things. And I know a lot of us out there, including myself, you got wheels spinning now, you know, because now I believe from this, we have to take action in some way, shape, or form, because now we have truth that we need to act upon.
Right.
If someone wanted to learn more about you and what you do and take advantage of the really cool stuff you're putting out there, where can they go?
My Instagram is where I post most of the stuff. It's where I usually get back to just about everyone. I do my best. It usually takes me a month, but I do my best.
Amazing.
So Doc Gen Fit on Instagram, Doc Gen Fit on Facebook. I will have YouTube coming up here shortly. I posted one video the other day on Instagram of me speaking, and my friends that move you, they were like, "It speaks."
That's awesome.
Like, oh God,
that is awesome. Those guys are really cool, by the way.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites. And I also love that, like, in this space, and this is what people I think are afraid of too, of like, oh, there's all this competition. It's not competition. It's like you get to know more people and you get to make relationships with more people, and it's not about who wins or loses. It's like we all rise together, you know? So it's so fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's where the gratefulness part comes in too. You know, when you start with gratefulness, you really understand that, I mean, there are billions of people in this world that need our help, right? Yeah. You're not, I mean, let's just all share. It's like, it's great. It's wonderful. And everybody's an expert in their own thing. But I think it's also so powerful, you know, when we are taking intentional action each day, like you're saying, to really learn and empower ourselves. That gives us confidence and the boldness to step into our days each day, thinking about someone other than ourselves. I heard a really powerful quote from a pastor who said, I'm going to ruin the quote, but he basically just said, think about your prayers. And he said, if your prayers are just helping yourself and not someone else around you, then reevaluate what you're praying for, And I think it's just so powerful because we have to step out of ourselves and say, okay, like what type of legacy am I leaving?
Yeah, I love that.
And go from there, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
really cool stuff. Once again, Doc, thanks so much for coming on and spending time with us. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we go our separate ways and go about our days?
I think I figured out my recent less than $100 purchase.
Yes. All right. What is it?
I got the book Launch, and that was huge.
Okay. Who wrote that?
Jeff Walker.
Jeff Walker. Got it. Okay.
And that really helped my launch. So nice. I would recommend that to anyone.
Nice.
Yeah.
And everything that, by the way, for everybody out there, everything that Dr. Jen is talking about is going to be in my show notes. So anything she mentions or anything like that, just go in the back. You'll have the show notes. That's awesome. I will say this to everybody out there. There's a motivational quote that really inspired me by Mario Andretti. And he said, desire is a key to motivation, but it is determination and commitment to an unrelenting pursuit of your goal, a commitment to excellence that will enable you to obtain the success you seek. And that's really all it takes, is just staying committed. Like you're talking about, Dr. Jen, just even if it's baby steps, you don't have to change your whole life in one day, just baby steps toward a commitment that you've made to yourself. And I think one of the resounding things in our conversation as well has been loving yourself, right?
Yeah.
Just
totally.
Like who are you? Who have you been made to be? You are that person right now, right? And whoever that person is in the mirror, just be grateful for them. Know this is your one earth suit. You've been given this amazing gift on the earth. And we're thankful for you as well. All right, Dr. Jen?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again, once again, for coming on and rocking it out and being the world changer that you are. To everybody out there, thank you so much for spending time with us. Remember, you are superhuman. You have everything it takes inside of you. You are a gift to this world. And so remember that as you walk through it, bring people with you. Grab some hands, bring people with you. It was great spending time with you. We'll see you next time.